So we are here for the last day of the 2021 B Danquah Memorial Lecture Series. I shall give a brief welcome message before we move on to the rest of the program. President of the Academy of Arts and Sciences, past presidents of the Academy, vice presidents of the Academy, fellows, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of fellows of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Ghana's premier learned society, I warmly welcome you all to the final day of a 3-day lecture series, marking the 54th in the series since 1968. The B Danquah Memorial Lecture Series was instituted in 1968 in memory of a foundation member of the Academy, Dr. Joseph B Danquah, who died in prison in February 1985, fighting for freedom in all its manifestations. The event consists of a series of 3 lectures delivered on varying themes ranging from law to philosophy, literature, medicine, health, religion, nation building, and many more. The Maiden Lecture was delivered in 1968 by His Excellency Van Leer, who was also a foundation member of the Academy. At the time, he was Ghana's High Commissioner to Canada and had had a long and distinguished career at the bench. The theme for his presentation was the law, human rights, and the judiciary. Now I'd like to introduce the chair for this evening's lecture. The chairperson for tonight's event is Emerita Professor Isabella Achinba Kwachi. She's a professor of immunology and parasitology at the University of Ghana. She's the first emerita professor in the sciences at the University of Ghana. She's an old Achimotan of the 1964 year group. She holds a Bachelor of Science honors degree in human biology and immunology from University of Surrey, England, 1973. An MSc in applied immunology from Brunel University, Uxbridge, Middlesex, England, in 1978, and a PhD in immunoparasitology from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, England, 1980. For the past 4 decades, she has taught and researched at the National Institutes of Health, NIH, in Maryland, and Georgetown University, Washington, D.C., both in the USA, and at the University of Ghana, Legon. Her teaching and research have focused on malaria immunity, immunoparasitology, immunopathology, immunodiagnosis, autoimmunity, molecular immunology, and vaccine development. She co-initiated and co-led the first NIH International Center of Infectious Diseases Research, a research partnership between Georgetown University and University of Yaoundé 1 in Cameroon from 1990 to 2001. This program built enormous academic scholarship and research capacity in laboratory and field research in Cameroon. She attained full professorship of immunology and parasitology at University of Ghana in 2001. At the University of Ghana, she established the immunology unit at the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research from 1980 to 1983. She was the first female director of the University of Ghana School of Public Health and the foundation dean of the University of Ghana School of Public Health, which also makes her the first female dean in the College of Health Sciences at the University of Ghana, 2002 to 2007. At the University of Ghana, she built substantial international research capacity, academic scholarship, and the leadership needed to build capacity for public health. She remains passionate about biomedical research development and knowledge translation. She has over 100 publications, including books and scholarly articles. She has served on numerous national and international committees and boards and received several awards. She's a former member of the Ghana Health Service Council, a former UNESCO Chair for Women in Science and Technology in the West Africa region. She won the 2014 Laureate African Union Kwame Nkrumah Award for Women in Science. She is the 2019 laureate for the Clara Southmaid Ludlow Award by the American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene. She is a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences and of the African Academy of Sciences. I should add that Professor Kwachi is the Vice President for the Sciences of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, our chairperson for this evening, Professor Isabella Achimba Kwachi. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Madam Honorary Secretary, many thanks for your kind words. Today is the penultimate lecture on the family, our nation, an agenda for the 21st century. Now, the past 2 days' brilliant discourse took us through the universal challenges that has shaped the indigenous African family. Our speakers took us through the impact of Islam, the slave trade, and the globalization leading to the 19th century. She states that in contemporary times, urbanization has played the most profound role in disorganizing and disabling the indigenous Ghanaian family, and that indeed by 2030, 50% of Ghana population will be in urbanized areas. And this has led to massive environmental and developmental problems. And through that, she conjectures that events like COVID-19 has raised a red flag on the plight of families in these urban cities. And indeed, our speaker asserts that climate change poses even a greater menace. And throughout, her theme is family, values, nation building, and sustainable development. So certainly, we are ready for more brilliant insights. So President of the Academy, past presidents of the Academy, vice presidents of the Academy, fellows of the Academy, your excellencies, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, I have the singular honor of introducing to you the speaker for this auspicious occasion in the person of Emerita Professor Elizabeth Adefio Shando. Emerita Professor Elizabeth Adefio Shando was educated at Wesley Girls High School, Cape Coast, and the University of Ghana, Legon, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts honors in Geography. Thereafter, she proceeded to the University of Birmingham, England, where she obtained a PhD in Geography in 1974. She also holds 2 postdoctoral training certificates. The first in environmental resource utilization and management in rural energy systems from UNIFE, United Nations University, Tokyo, Japan, and the second in women, public policy and development from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, USA. She is a geographer, an environmental advisor, development consultant, and expert in rural energy systems. She serves as a member of the Ghana National Commission for UNESCO, a member of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, and chairman of the academic board of the Ghana Sharks Olympiad. She was the former head of the Department of Geography and Resource Development, the warden of Walter Hall, University of Ghana, and the chairman of the Committee of Heads of Halls. She also served as an editor of the Ghana Geographical Journal, a member of the advisory board of the Journal of Humanities, College of Humanities in the University of Ghana. She was the first Ghanaian woman to be appointed as Emerita Professor of Geography by the University of Ghana, and indeed in the whole country. She was the founder of the Women's Research Group and its pioneer coordinator, 1989. She also served as a member of the Council of the Architect Registration Council and a council member of the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani, Ghana. As a researcher of high repute, she has undertaken 50 major academic researches, as well as action-oriented and policy studies. The one most famously associated with her was a National Family and Development Program, FADEP, a 7-year-long research project that she coordinated with the vice chancellors of the public universities of Ghana. Having recognized her pioneering work and trailblazing women's studies and research, she was appointed the national consultant responsible for the production of the Ghana Country Report on the status of women in Ghana for the UN 4th World Conference on Women in Beijing, Ghana in 1995. At the international level, she was elected on 2 consecutive terms as the West Africa representative of the Commonwealth Geographical Bureau. She was a member of the International Geographical Union, the Africa representative of the International Union of Forest Research Organizations, and the West Africa executive member of the Women Organizing for Change in Agriculture and Natural Resources, WOCAN. She is a recipient of many awards, few of which are Fellow United Nations University International Leadership Academy from the University of Jordan, Amman in June 2000, Fellow United Nations University, Tokyo, Japan, and a recipient of the Konova Porter Award, USA. She has served as a consultant both home and abroad to many organizations such as the National Council on Women and Development, now the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, United Nations Development Program, UNDP, United Nations Population Family, UNFPA, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organizations, UNFAO, and the International Labour Organization, ILO, and UNO, INRA. Her over 100 publications, including 17 books and monograms and scholarly articles, are published in reputed national and international journals. Worthy of special mention is her publication, Women in Ghana, an annotated bibliography with Kwafo Akoto, 1990, which became the most referred to literary source the world over by researchers in gender and development studies. Another book, The Changing Family in Ghana, has translated into Japanese and used as a textbook in colleges in Japan. She is the past Vice President of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Arts Section, having also previously served as Honorary Treasurer. Madam Speaker, your audience. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged again today to have here with us the Redeemed Baptist Church Choir, Oguju, Accra. They are the people who sang us yesterday, and they are back here with us today. The choir is led by choir directors Whitfield Kwabla, Edwin Asante, and Emma Latte, a distinguished musician. The speaker, our distinguished speaker for this evening, is the choir mother for this choir, the Redeemed Baptist Church Choir, Obudu. It is now my pleasure to invite the Redeemed Baptist Church Choir, Obudu, to give us a song. Please welcome them with a warm applause.
Thank you, Claire. Madam Chair, thank you very much for those kind words of introduction. The President of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, past presidents, vice presidents, the council, fellows of the Academy, Your Excellencies, honorable ministers of state, and members of parliament, the family of B Danquah Memorial Lectures, dear students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The chairman has appraised you of the two previous lectures, and it is up for me to take it up from there. So today our lecture is focused on the family and the agenda for national development. In 1987, the Brundtland Report made a very powerful global statement. It emphasized, and here I quote, that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Unquote, Our Common Future, 1987. This statement cannot be so true because it is so clear that two of the core pillars of such sustainable development is the people through which the family finds full expression and also the environment. These two pillars are being critically threatened by climate change. We cannot talk about a national agenda for development without reference to climate change. Because we first have to survive on the earth before we can even talk about development. Climate change can set back the development of nations. As such, efforts are being made to work on adaptation options to minimize the adverse effects. Yet, the climate threat is expected to cause a great deal of damage to the family and economic development as a whole. Thus, climate action requires greater attention to ensure future food security and well-being of the population and family. In the recent past, families have witnessed a trajectory of increasing environmental negligence and worsening social equity. Ironically, on the back of the best of technologies and facilities, with the capacity to provide their households with reasonable lives, few communities have been spared from being bombarded by numerous social and environmental challenges. Africa families and communities have not been spared due to challenges of climate change. During the Holocene, this geological era started more than 10,000 years ago with its favorable climatic conditions and supported civilizations as we know it. Currently, global warming is occurring roughly 10 times faster than the average rate of ice age recovery warming. As you can see, the Holocene, the temperature is very, very low. And in recent times, it has shot up very drastically. The global temperature and precipitation have changed rapidly due to the anthropogenic increases of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. It has been predicted that the global surface temperature will increase by 1.4 to 5.8 degrees centigrade by the year 2100 due to the increasing concentration of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide. Anthropogenic climate change, that is climate change due to our human activities, is a new geological era with environmental conditions that we as humanity have never before experienced. It is coming. We haven't experienced it yet. Carbon dioxide from human activity is increasing more than 250 times faster than it did from natural sources after the ice age as the earth gets warmer. Anthropogenic activities are adversely affecting the earth and incorporating the production of harmful substances like chlorofluorocarbons, which are in charge of the ozone layer. The emissions of large quantities of greenhouse gases is damaging the earth balance of the surface of the earth. The earth temperature is now higher than during the Holocene, owing to the carbon dioxide that we as people have emitted into the atmosphere by burning coal, oil, gas, by indiscriminate felling of forests for farms, pastures, illegal logging, mining, built environments, including human settlements, among others. One clear and simple factor affecting the atmospheric temperature is air pollution created by African households, where more than 90% of the population use wood fuel sources as their access to modern energy. Meanwhile, the wood fuel resources are becoming increasingly scarce and more labor intensive. And here I want to use a very simple example which we will all understand, using Ghana as an example. Our country's energy scene is predominantly wood fuel, as you can see in the diagram. The predominant nation's energy requirements are supplied in the form of wood fuel. At the household level, the major energy cooking energy source was wood fuel, comprising 85% of all major cooking fuels in the country. If you look at the graph, apart from Greater Accra, where you find households using gas and some electricity, most regions in the households in the regions are using fuel wood. For the industrial sectors also, the energy demand dominated by the Volta Aluminium Company, transport and fisheries are also affected. Again, the emergent picture of energy consumption in the industrial sector also consumes over 50% wood fuel. So you can imagine the amount of carbon dioxide that we are pumping into the air as families and households use wood fuel. This is supported by the fact that a study was conducted to assess the levels and spatial patterns of multiple pollutants in the ambient air in selected low-income areas in Accra. And this demonstrates that urban air pollutants result in part from urban air pollution in addition to transportation, industrial pollution, and non-combustion sources. As you see in Fig 12, this figure shows how through predominant energy source, majority people in families and households who use biomass or wood fuel contribute to global warming. The figure shows the daily concentration of particulate matter, PM10 and PM2.5. This particulate matter is the sum of all solid and liquid particles suspended in the air, and many of them are hazardous. So as we use wood fuel, we are inhaling the hazardous polluted air, and it is also increasing the greenhouse emission gases. This further shows that growth in urban population that uses biomass or wood fuel, coupled with increasing traffic and industrial emissions that accompany economic development, is likely to lead to even higher carbon dioxide and air pollution in our cities. With increasing anthropogenic activities, among others, temperatures across the African continent are predicted to keep on rising over the next 100 years. And rainfall variability will increase, resulting in frequent flooding and drought. And that the warming of the African continent is very likely to be even higher than the global level. The possibility is that the increasing global temperatures can be minimized If mitigated strategies are implemented in all regions and in all countries and in all the world, because there's no boundary in the environment. Rainfall variability has also become more significant since the last century. Drought is also accelerating with great impact on food security and increasingly affecting the life of the population. In 2011, more than 100 million people were affected by drought in Africa. At the same time, flooding is leading to immediate deaths and injuries to people and infectious diseases, exposing people to toxic substances. According to the Institute for Environment and Sustainability, 1.2 million people in Africa were displaced from their homes in Africa. If you study the table on the screen, table 1, it demonstrates climate events and effects in some selected African countries. You can see the various climatic effects, events, and the effects in columns 3 and 4. Generally, Africa is more affected by climate change because of its reliance on rain-fed agriculture and the fact that it has lower financial, technical, and institutional capacity to adapt. Climate is a fundamental factor for agricultural productivity, such that any environmental change affects plant and animal production. With increasing frequency of droughts and floods associated with climate change, agricultural production declines and the state of food insecurity and malnutrition increases. Climate change is not only an environmental problem, it has the potential to undermine sustainable development, increase poverty, prevent the realization of achieving the sustainable development goals. Climate change and variability may therefore seriously hinder future developments of the nation of Ghana. Evidence from Ghana shows that Ghana is gradually turning into a desert. The evidence shows that about 35% of the total land mass has become a desert, and neighboring areas are fast becoming semi-arid, and the rate of desertification is increasing per annum. Rainfall has been reducing since 1960. Temperatures have been rising. The projection is that reduction in rainfall and rising temperatures from 2010 to 2050 will manifest in global warming in all the regions of Ghana, both the northern and the southern, but they will be more severe in the northern sector. That shows that challenges of climate change are consistently worsening in Ghana. As elsewhere, They manifest in flooding, which is one of the major challenges and source of human vulnerability, which has led to the destruction of human habitat, including high mortality rates, rendering many families homeless with loss of livelihood assets, as you can see in Table 2. Disruption of energy supply, communication, as well as transport infrastructure, and interference in public service delivery are further manifestations of the challenge. Other obvious evidence include, of course, deforestation, land degradation, biodiversity loss, and insecurity between herders and sedentary farmers, and climate-induced migration. Climate change is therefore a clear threat, undermining the stability and the very survival of humankind and families, and requires serious attention. The enormity of the threat and its imminent impact require global efforts to adapt to the changes. In response, several efforts have been made to tackle the environmental problems in the past. Some of the global responses were the Stockholm Conference of 1972, the Vienna Convention for the Protection of the Ozone Layer, and the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. There was also the Brundtland Report of 1987, then the Earth Summit, which led to the establishment of Agenda 21. The official global consensus on development and environmental cooperation. Of more relevance was the International Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, which was meant to examine, evaluate, and synthesize scientific climatic information from around the globe, and also the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change of 1992. There was then, of course, the Kyoto Protocol, followed by the Paris Agreement, which are major policy milestones since the institution of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. I'm sure that from the beginning of the week you have been hearing about the Paris Agreement, where the international world is calling that every national policy that needs support should conform to the requirements and regulations of the Paris Agreement. It has become a tool for supporting development. In addition, we have the Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly the Sustainable Development Goal number 13, urge all nation states to take urgent action to combat climate and its impacts. And this is a universal call to end poverty, protect the planet, ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. The Paris Agreement was adopted by nearly every nation in the world to address climate change and its negative impact, and to cut climate-altering pollution to strengthen those commitments over time. It also creates a framework for the transparent monitoring, reporting, and hatching up of countries' individual and collective climate goals. As per this agreement, many countries have been making various efforts to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions. Already, many climate-friendly actions are being implemented, but they are just not at the speed or scale that is required. The action is not just about mitigation. It is trying to reduce greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and also about building resilience to the impacts of changing climate. Therefore, nations and signatories should oblige to manage the effects of environmental change, among other things, and develop what is called the NDC, nationally determined contributions. They should develop NDCs in fulfillment of the convention, and they have to report progress accordingly. Many African countries have complied and have succeeded in fulfilling their obligations. Ghana has also been positive in producing its progress reports. It submitted 31 NDC's commitments to the UNFCCC as required. And it will even surprise you that last year, amid the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic, Ghana submitted its report in May 2020. In addition, the EPA has taken so many actions in furtherance to accomplishment of the Paris Agreement, but still, there are much more to be done. As Ghana joined the global community and initiates strategies to combat climate change with reference to the UNFCCC, the Sustainable Development Goals, especially the SDG 3, its success will depend a great deal on not only the report, but the extent to which it is able to take successful climate action and implement them at the local or grassroots level. And this is why in climate change action, every action to fight climate change matters, no matter how small. Even in your small corner, if you mind the type of energy you use, which will not pollute the atmosphere, you are taking a positive action. How you dispose your waste action. because putting all small actions together, we will achieve something. It is in connection with this climate threat that in 2018, the UN Secretary General labeled climate change as the most systematic threat to humankind, with the alleged that human activity is destroying the climate conditions for our very survival. In support to this threat, the African Union emphasized the importance of climate adaptation and mitigation in its Agenda 2063, its long-term vision for Africa adopted in 2013. All countries have to be on deck to combat the challenges and projected impacts. There are a number of alternatives to minimize the impact of climate change in Africa. The possible alternatives which may impact climate change in Ghana may follow two broad complementary paths of action to be taken by policymakers on one hand and societies, families, and individuals to adapt and mitigate the effects on the other. The response and responses to climate change are expected to be locally specific and must focus on building resilience at the community level. Given that the family is a formidable institution in Ghana, with appropriate structures for instilling cultural and ethical values in individuals, the family is an indispensable key player in the local context, building resilience in the family for adaptation and mitigation practices. These practices are complementary and essential to sustainable national development. Resolving the challenge of climate change requires a transnational approach, an approach that is just, equitable, and sustainable, and more balanced relationship among the peoples of the world and the planet. The question that confronts us now as a nation and as a people is how new patterns of action and interaction can be established, both individually and collectively, through personal choices, governing institutions, and social systems using an institution like the family. So far, in the attempt to localize climate action as required by the SDG 13 and the Paris Agreement, adequate attention has not been given to the role of the family, the institution that has the potential to localize the needed action. Like the Paris Agreement goals and the UNFCCC activities of the conventions, there were no specific indications as to how individuals or ordinary citizens could be active participants and contribute to the success of the climate change process. Available evidence shows that it is possible that appropriate family and family policies can contribute in a meaningful way to meet sustainable development and climate action goals and localize the needed action on sustainability. with the recognition that each country is connected to the world when it comes to implementation of climate action. The family, as we know it, is so fundamental and essential that in the family, we learn to communicate, to cooperate, empathize, and compromise within its small, vital social structures. Given these realities, the family clearly stands out as a unique key stakeholder and as an instrument that can positively contribute in achieving environmental management and climate action. The importance of the family in Ghana is reflected in our national policies, which focus on family welfare as a way to enhance or improve the living standards of future generations. Hence, the family and the national policies that support them can play an important role in national efforts to achieve the Paris Agreement and SDG 13 on climate change action. This observation was also muted by the UN Secretary General when he emphasized, and here I quote, the very achievement of development goals depend on how well families are empowered to contribute to the achievement of the SDGs, including climate change action. Thus, policies focusing on improving the well-being of families are certain to benefit development, unquote. This statement was pertinent in the search for an effective way of localizing the climate action in Ghana as a basic social institution. The family, as a strong socializing agent, could be an effective pathway for achieving local environmental management and national development. Empowerment of the family for national development. To empower families for climate action and national development is a complex issue, but somehow we can start with two main propositions. The first is the preservation of the ecosystem on which depends the preservation and survival of the population and families. Recognizing the complexity of the implementation of the SDG 13, it does not seem possible to achieve it in isolation without considering the other SDGs. In that case, with policies on climate action, the government should enhance its commitment process for achieving the Paris Agreement goals and its greenhouse gas emissions target as agreed in the United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change. The second is to prioritize human resource development, hinging on the role of the family, and harmonize national development with climate change adaptation strategies. The family should, in this regard, be strongly recognized, operationalized, and involved for its caring and management attributes in instilling the right and appropriate attitudes in the family for the management of the environment and climate change action. The establishment of the International Year of the Family in 1994 was in the right direction. Since then, there has been an increasing focus on the role of the family in the African Plan of Action of 2019 to 2020, which of course is a good thing. There have been positive proposals and ending policies and plans, but then there have been these have been mostly directed at the poor and vulnerable in the family. The existing proposals are good, but they do not seem inclusive enough. What is needed, in addition, is an effective and appropriate agenda geared towards inclusive mobilization of the family in its entirety as an institution, irrespective of age, sex, and socioeconomic status, for critical environmental management at the grassroots level. We, as a nation, need to embark on a journey of transformation and action based on a family approach, which is a bottom-up approach, where each family and household member, as an individual and corporate member of the family, can make a positive contribution. The various efforts being made through the implementation of the Paris Agreement are also worthy of note. But in order for many of the sustainable policies to be effective, implementation and application should go beyond the usual policy slogans. For effectiveness, mechanisms should be action-oriented, with the family serving as the vehicle for empowering family members from the cradle through adulthood and to the grave. In doing so, policymakers should commit to equality education at the grassroots level by advancing policy and frameworks to empower the family as the key stakeholder in national development. Dynamic actions must be family focused and should include awareness raising, education, the changing family, and environmental related research which supports sustainability, as well as mainstreaming the family in the national development strategy. For this purpose, I propose a 6-point agenda in support of our national development. The first is awareness-raising campaigns. Aggressive awareness campaigns on the family should be adopted. The campaign should promote and educate households on the importance of strengthening the family by increasing their knowledge, understanding, and ownership of their environment through healthy and responsible fatherhood, motherhood, and through family and household health. The aggressive campaigns should emphasize the relevance and interconnectedness of the environment to the community, to the nation, climate action, and its relationship to each member of the family and humankind. In particular, participatory action programs should focus on households and local communities in both rural and urban households by linking communities with households to undertake and harness collaborative activities. The campaigns should target family members in their daily lives to participate in environment and climate action like in, in climate action like insecurity, health, water, energy, gender, and the conservation of the natural resources. Opinion leaders, we all know them like members of parliament, assemblymen, community-based organizations, chiefs, religious queen mothers, and all should be mobilized and tasked to play leading roles in the family campaign. Number two, sowing the seed through education. Sowing seeds of national development through education of the family is critical. This should focus on education for sustainable development, education that occurs in a wide variety of social contexts, including what happens in the formal education system, but also extends into daily and professional life, which calls for the vision of sustainable development to benefit all. The family is the most appropriate instrument to help mobilize people's participation in sustainable and national development and problem solving through processes which enable collaboration and dialogue. The family can instill values in its members to become actively conscious of values which have been inherited, chosen, and socially embedded. Beyond that, the family and household members, irrespective of age, should be empowered to understand their privileges and responsibilities, understand the environment and climate issues in global and local perspectives. Education for sustainable and national development is quite complex, but then we must start somewhere by sowing the right seed at the right time, by applying knowledge and skills that will lead to the desired transformative change. This should be based on our indigenous knowledge of environmental management and community cohesiveness. That are the two main areas of strength in the educational process of the family. Education on sustainability must focus on both the formal and informal. At the formal level, issues on environment and climate should be taught right from kindergarten through to the basic and higher levels of education. The action should build on the positive aspects of indigenous knowledge acquired by children from their families and linked up with parent-teacher associations. To buttress the process, The relevant SDGs and climate issues should be incorporated into the curriculum and approved by policymakers. At the informal level, the government should build capacity of the family for effective and responsive leadership. Empowerment should focus on indigenous and informal education channels by instilling values, attitudes, and behaviors that support responsible citizenry and commitment, paying attention to individual family members, including the youth and children. The process of informal education should be promoted with participatory activities operationalized in rural and urban communities. The third agenda, the future generation and youth movement. The youth, comprising 40.9% by the population census 2010, are the strength of the human resources in our nation and should therefore be targeted and mobilized into a future generation youth movement. They should be empowered through appropriate training as ambassadors of change, including climate action, in their local communities to forge partnerships with other relevant groups to promote appropriate change actions. They should be equipped and supported with access to information that will help and equip them to promote the family. They need information like online platforms and networks that can facilitate and promote their cause. In this connection, the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences could play an important role in promoting the family through its school lecture programs as a platform to promote the family as agents of change. 4, community participation. Communities should be strengthened to promote patriotism and sustainability by involving local authorities and all relevant opinion leaders, and by ensuring that family policies strengthen resilience of families and households by tackling environmental security and promoting conservation of natural resources. As part of the campaign, families, as well as government and non-governmental organizations, private sectors and individuals should be heavily involved. 5, effective implementation. Beyond beyond these, policymakers as a major actor should ensure effective implementation through 1, application of indigenous knowledge. Policymakers should create opportunities through local agencies to educate families to understand cultural and relevant indigenous values and how to apply them when confronted with challenges relating to globalization and modernization. A value-based system should be established to influence sustainable development and national development by applying the following. 1, formulation of policies and reviewing legal frameworks for the family to determine needed strategies to strengthen the structure of the family to enable it to take critical decisions within its locus. Develop stable families by using intergenerational ties and build the resilience of the family to avoid disintegration as an important contribution to the national development process. Improve the quality of all the corporate members of the family through strengthening of family-centered components of policy and programs as part of an integrated and comprehensive approach to sustainable national development. Families and households, irrespective of their background and levels of expertise, must be educated to progress to a stage to envision Ghana and a world of improved quality of life for all within their communities and neighborhoods. Prioritize goals and targets that best respond to specific contexts and needs of the family in the different cultural and geographical areas of the community. This should be prioritized goals. And the next is mainstreaming of family values. Family issues should be mainstreamed into the curriculum as well as in the implementation of the sustainable and national development targets. Research is critical in every effort in developing national strategic plans and in dissemination of findings to decision-making organs and concerned stakeholders as a way forward in enhancing the role and impact of the family. Educational institutions, research centers and NGOs, and all related organs should focus on family-oriented research. Here again, the Ghana Academy can play a relevant role by partnering the government and other related organizations. The research should diagnose the interface between national development policies and the Ghanaian family, regardless of sex, age, status, or disability, with special attention to the rights of women and girls and cohesion of the family. Management, information, and storage systems of the family, coupled with the research, a management information system on the family should be established. The data should be collected at the local, district, and regional levels on families and households. The process should be at the national level, but with priority at the local level to ensure effective management at the grassroots level. And the sixth proposition is monitoring and evaluation systems. Monitoring and evaluation systems should be set up at the relevant ministries and agencies, backed up by a carefully designed organizational support to ensure the desired and achievable outcome. Madam Chair, in concluding, I want to affirm that the family equipped through intergenerational ties, and over the centuries have proved to be an enduring and formidable indigenous institution in our society. It seeks and develops the full potential of its members in the face of life challenges and provide them with a sense of efficacy to make informed and responsible decisions about themselves, their health, and to deal with environmental changes. The family can be indispensable, a key in our national development when policymakers accorded it its rightful position and attention as it deserves. In the light of the impact of ongoing globalization on the family, the government should urgently mobilize resources and talents to initiate a national dialogue. And here, this national dialogue, once again, can be initiated in collaboration with the academic. The dialogue should involve stakeholders, both public and private, including NGOs and the special agencies, to debate the proposed agenda on the table and come out with medium and long-term strategic plans that will complement existing policies and plans to enhance the viability of the family. Because the very achievement of our national goals depends on how well our families are empowered to contribute to our national development. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite the Redeemed Baptist Church Choir, Obudu, to give us another song. Thank you. Thank you, Redeemed Baptist Church Choir. I now invite Madam Chairperson to give her closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. President of the Academy, past presidents of the Academy, vice presidents of the Academy, fellows of the Academy, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we've been entertained to intellectual and friendly discourse this evening, and we really need another round of applause from our distinguished speakers. The 3 days have been simply amazing, and I will not even attempt to summarize the 3 days, but there are a few salient points that I'll attempt to bring out. So in all, our speaker is saying that the family and the values that we learn from the families are essential for national development and sustainable growth. So she goes on to initially tell us about the numerous universal challenges. We started our family as a hunter-gathering, and then the family concept, mobility, the home concept and alliances, the families, and eventually no families, these are still debating, and then the various conceptual processes that have shaped elements in the family. And she contests that indigenous institutions in Africa still stand solid. And if we understand and evaluate the values, that should be a premise for national development. And she brings that in spite of the imposition of Islam and slave trade and globalization, there's still elements in our indigenous family structures that still hold sway. And that in contemporary times, urbanization really became the disorganizing, disabling factor. And the threat of urbanization, that brings in the demands of housing, urban poverty, struggles in, everyone is trying to come to the city to make good. But we end up with lack of housing, evictions. We end up with slums, zongos, and peripheral migratory families. Urbanization is leading us to streetism, and it's almost, breaking up our families. But inherently, if we keep track and get back to those inherent values, and then we have issues like conjectural events of pandemics that really drive us to recognize the problem. We have a coronavirus. Suddenly, we realize that communities are not functional. You're telling us to, social distance, wash our hands, and the sanitation is broken down. The environment is broken down. So inherently, it brings us back to the family values that take care of each other so that we can cope with these conjectural development. And then she points out the climate change, the greater menace. the various anthroponic progenic activities that are destroying our very livelihood. And today she elaborates, the climate change, the pollution, and you take Ghana, you can see how we are really destroying ourselves. You take households that are burning, instead of finding ways to, reduce their waste, they actually burn the pollution without thinking to our health. So we are actually contributing to our death. And if the families are not empowered to believe in themselves and lead in the solution of the environment, I think we're heading for doom. And she comes out with 6 empowering points: awareness, education, and committing the family and really the national agenda, the country, the nation coming to grace. That if you empower the family, you empower them to provide the needed value that will save life. And so, without attempting to summarize, I want us to thank the speaker again, Our Lady of Elegance and style. Let's give her a rousing introduction. Please, let's. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So with this, it's not a few remarks. We want to thank you. It's a wonderful, your stamina. I'm not sure how you manage the 3-day stamina. I think young ladies, you have an act to follow. Thank you very much.
Let me thank the chairperson for those remarks. I have been informed that the Redeemed Baptist Church Choir would like to sing for us the national anthem. Shall we rise as they sing? Thank you. Thank you, Redeemed Baptist Church Choir, Obojo. We are almost at the end of this evening's event, and with it, this year's B Danquah Memorial Lecture Series. At this time, I'd like to thank Madam Chairperson, Emerita Professor Kwachi, for so ably steering affairs this evening to a successful close. Thank you. I have no words to thank our distinguished speaker. Indeed, we have a lady of great substance. She has treated us in these past 3 evenings to wonderful lectures, very stimulating. We have all been greatly impressed and educated. We have had a lot of food for thought, and for this, I would like to thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The president of the Academy, the past presidents, vice presidents, fellows, your excellencies, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank everybody, every one of you, for all that you have put into this event to make it what it has become, a great success. I'd like to thank the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences administrative staff for their important role in making this event happen. I'd like to thank our choir, the Redeemed Baptist Church Choir, for treating us to such wonderful music yesterday and today. Thank you very much. And to everybody else here who has been part of today's event and this year's B Danquah Memorial Lecture Series, I say a very big thank you. Thank you to you all. As we leave here, there will be refreshment outside, just next to the car park. Please pick up something to eat and drink on your way out. I'd now crave your indulgence to stand as the procession leaves the room. Thank you.